Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon. Let's see. Am I
Michael
showing
Humphreys
live?
joined.
Oh, yes. Hello.
Hey,
How you doing? Let me
um,
check the group to make sure I'm live.
well, I see you live.
Are you seeing me live?
No,
Okay,
I'm
great.
not. No, I'm on this. You go live Facebook as well, do you?
Yes, let me see. In the
Okay.
personal group. We're in a group today. Let me make sure we're good.
So you want me to add John? I guess through the Facebook first, then he's in that group. Is that how you want to handle it?
Yes.
Okay, no
Yes.
problem. All right.
So, am I? It's showing live. If you all can see and hear me live, I'm not seeing it on my phone. And I'm not seeing like the regular
What's the
live
name? What's the name of the group? I can Google it or Facebook it.
growth mastermind with Carlotta. Kings, do y'all see me live on your Facebook in the group? I don't see it.
I believe so. Let's see.
Maybe it's just picking up on my side.
It's saying this video
Oh,
is
yeah.
live now, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I see it now. I see it.
Okay.
There it is. I'll mark it as an announcement so I can bring it up to the top. There we go. We're live. Okay, great. Man, I am really excited about chapter 4, hollering. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. Hold up. Wait. Hold up. Is that James King? Welcome.
It is him.
Welcome. Oh my goodness.
It is he.
That was gonna be good
But
today.
I like the fact that you've been seeing me all this time. So when you saw me, you already been seeing me, and I like that.
Right. Welcome, Michael Humphreys again. He's brand new. He just came in, hitting the ground running, plugged in, and already adding people to the group. Thank you for helping build the community. We're going to go ahead and get started because we have some really good content to cover. But before we go and start off with chapter 4, any takeaways, anything that showed up in your life this week concerning chapter 3? One of my biggest takeaways from chapter 3 is on page 52. And the greatest impact, one of them was, where is it at? Where is it at? There is only one thing more painful than learning from experience, and that is not learning from experience. Anytime we experience something, we should definitely be learning from it. And if you're not learning from your experiences, that's when you're messing up. That's kind of like when you find your life going in loops, in circles, right? Anyone else would like to comment anything from chapter 3 before we dive off? It's just kind of like a reflection, anything that you've seen in your life, or anything that you just still kind of remember.
Like I said last week, it's the primary responsibility is development leaders. So it's that word primary, because if your focus is different than development leaders, then you're not doing the right thing. That's it. It's
Right.
developing people around you. So it's got to become the first thing to be thinking about.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Anyone else before we proceed? Because chapter 4 is too good. Anyone else?
No, we're good. We can go straight into chapter 4.
All right, let's rock and roll. Also, if anyone, I'm watching my phone for the comments because when it's in a private group, it won't show me on here. So just know I'm gonna be checking my phone. I want to encourage you all, even if you're not on the platform, if you're in the group, once again, if anything, any of your thoughts, anything that you got out of reading chapter 4, place that in the comment, place the content or questions. And so I'm going to be looking here on my phone. I have it on silent, so I won't echo, but I will be looking on my phone to reread your comments and your questions and concerns and anything you want to add to amplify chapter 4. All right. So page 61 in the text, developing the leaders around you. The title of chapter 4 is the leader's crucial task, nurturing potential leaders.
Hmm.
And it's an extremely great breakdown of how to do it and how not to do it, and who to do it to and who not to do it to. So we got all of those are great takeaways. Great takeaways. Okay. So on page 61, I have underlined, many organizations today fail to tap into their potential because the only reward they give their employees is their paycheck, something that it's just like the bottom line. But what about everything else there in between? And so it causes you to like really tap in and learn. Hello, Shanetta. Hello, Dr. Virginia Jameson. How y'all doing today? It causes you to really tap in to learn how to do this right. And he has a tool and an acronym called BEST, BEST. Believe in them, encourage them, share with them, and trust them. Right?
Mhm.
Anyone, before we go to page 62, anyone would like to add to page 61?
I love that acronym. Good morning, everybody. Always grateful for this platform. Thank you so much, Ms. Carlotta, just for allowing us to be a part of this platform today. I love how you opened up with such a powerful statement as far as BEST and what it stands for. Because I believe that as leaders, to really, really nurture people and give them your best, you have to see the best in them and give them the very best. And I think giving your best is always going to pull the best out of other people. So I love how you opened up with that incredible acronym.
Absolutely. And I just want to read. Can you hear me? Let me see. I'm muting myself. Okay, I see that Dr. Jameson is in the comments saying, is it nature versus nurture? Not a question, but a comment. She says, knowing the difference in the two words, knowing the difference between the two. I like that. Thank you for adding that. Dr. Jameson. Anyone else before we move on? I do believe this is a great acronym, but it gets better and better or gooder and gooder as we go through the chapter. All right. We're going to keep it moving. Page 62. I have underlined the nurturing process involves more than just encouragement. And it also includes modeling. The modeling process is at its best when a leader chooses a model of his own to emulate and then becomes a model to its team members. In other words, I've heard the comment or I heard the statement before, every coach needs a coach and every mentor needs a mentor. I talked about this last week where I talked about how I used to, admire, I'm just giving one example, Oprah Winfrey. Right? And I admire her from coming from a state like Mississippi, moving her life forward, pushing forward past discrimination, molestation, all of those negative things. Even her own environment, people that were in her life would tell her that she was just going to be somebody who worked for somebody else. In other words, pretty much a slave or somebody who cleans houses for other people. But she said she knew that wasn't going to be her. But I wanted to know, I used to tap into her primarily, but then it was like an aha moment when I said, let me tap into who Oprah Winfrey is getting coached by. Who is her mentor? So it's kind of like a background check, okay? And at the same time, we want to do this with ourselves. We don't want to just do it all ourselves. We need to have a model for ourselves. And that actually can go further. It can go deeper and deeper and deeper the farther you go. But it's very, very key. You don't want to just copy yourself. It says here on page 62, who was this? Oliver Goldsmith said, people who seldom improve when they have no other model but themselves to copy. Right? So I want to ask you right now, who, and it could be personally or somebody else, something like I gave an example of Oprah or whatever, but who is your personal model or anything related to the context? And you can have several. There are all kinds of influences all around the world. They could be nationally known. They could be somebody local. They could be a number of people, or like Oprah Winfrey says, a kitchen cabinet of people that she looks up to, right? Or people that she confides in. So who would be those people in your life, or anything on the topic? It can be anything, but as long as it's on the topic of page 62. And so the floor is open. I want to get your feedback now. And if you're in the comments, be sure to answer this question and also add value in the context of what you have read. And I'm going to read those comments as well.
Okay. In terms of answering your question, who's that model for us? We'll start first with our pastor. Because in terms of looking at our core, in terms of what we present as partnership, that was our first model for how they do things, he and his wife. And there are many other models that we have. And one of the things that we've learned, and it touches on this in the book too, but you can have a model for different things. Because in terms you will begin to also emulate their weaknesses if you are not mindful. So we have models that we follow for different facets and areas of our lives that have really cultivated us over the past 8 to 10 years. One of the things that also stood out to me on page 62 was that it talks about, in that first paragraph, it talks about how nurturing can create a strong emotional and professional foundation. And how important is a foundation? How important is a foundation? Because it goes on to say later, using training and development, a leader can be built on that foundation that was set in place. And we all know that if you do not have a solid and proper foundation, then whatever you try to build or construct will not be lasting. So the whole nurturing aspect is so vital. And honestly, coming from the experiences that I've had, many leaders that I have dealt with have felt that nurturing was almost like pacifying. I'm not going to baby you. I'm not going to give you all, it was that kind of feel to it. I got mine. You need to get yours. And that's so detrimental to the growth of people around you, to take that mindset. And just to look at this, to see how he starts off by talking about just having a nurturing environment where you can really cultivate the leaders around you. So that's my spiel there. And I know we have so much more we need to share for chapter 4.
I know another person, since 2015, we've been listening to the voice of a gentleman who really gave us the philosophy of keeping God the center and loving people. And he taught us about how powerful gratitude is and just things of that nature. So a lot of the principles that we live by came from the voice of this gentleman back in 2015. And it's just been a consistent listening. And then we went back and did, like you said, we listened to him, but then we said, well, who is he listening to? And it went back to another guy, I.V. Hilliard, who taught him about believing. So that's a powerful point. Having somebody you listen to, but then know, okay, now they listening to somebody, going back and listening to them. So thank you for that point. That's a powerful point.
Yes. Very, very powerful. And it really gives you perspective. And it shows you like the greatness, because the farther back you go, the greater impact. The greater the impact because of that rule. What's that rule that we learned by reading these, by participating in these masterminds, is that the closer you are to the fire, the greater the impact. And then the duplication kind of dwindles down. So the farther back you go, the more profound all of this information really is, and the influence really is. So that was amazing. Thank you. I'm glad that nugget helped you. Anyone else? Let me read the comments real quick. So we have Dr. Jameson says, give your best and you'll get the best. That's great. Paul Frank says, giving your best to others by seeing the best in others. Great point, King James. Oh, yeah, I read that right. King James. All right. All right, keep going. Paul Frank says, huge butterfly story, Oprah's story, the very people her elders said she would be working for now work for her instead of not being good enough to be on TV. She now owns her own TV network, true. Dr. Jameson says, what was said to her didn't cause her to fall into what was said, but rise above it. Paul Frank's great focus point, Carlotta Taylor. Dr. Jameson, every area of your life needs someone to emulate. It's true. Dr. Jameson says, make sure the foundation that is laid is strong and deeply rooted to be built upon. Great impact. Jessica James, great evening, Growth Mastermind. That model for me is my grandparents. Amazing. I can say the same thing, Jess. High five to that. High five to that. For real, for real, for real. Thank you so much. All right. Someone else was getting ready to give feedback. Were they? Humphreys? You good over there? You got anything you want to add?
I muted myself. No, I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I mean, mentors role. I agree with the Kings. It's just like multiple people. I don't think you get everything from one person, and I think you're sadly mistaken if you think you can.
Yes.
There, even though they may be a great mentor in one area, if they're not married, how can they give you marriage guidance? If they don't have kids, how can they give you parental guidance? So you got to be careful on who you're taking advice from, even though they may have professional lineage behind their name, all these wonderful letters, but have they lived that life? And I think it goes into this is part of this chapter is, are they a great example? Have they gone through this themselves? Because they've not. It's easy to look at theory, but you haven't experienced it. That's two different things. From the front of the stage, you can say anything, but in real life, that's totally different. It's all book knowledge, not head knowledge. Yeah.
Woo! All right, come on, mic drop. That was very valuable information. Let's move on to page 63. Choose a leadership model for yourself, and it gives you some key takeaways on how to do that. So you ask yourself the question, does my model's life deserve a following? All right. You want to look at quality of character, and you don't want models with flawed character. And then it asks the question, does my model's life have a following? Now, I also want to do my due diligence by saying that, you cannot always look at a person's following, because a lot of times people are attracted to certain things that make them have high followers. Just because a person has a lot of followers does not mean they operate in good character. Okay. This book was copywritten in 1995, and I don't even know about the process before that. So a lot of things may have changed, but it's amazing how he was able to say in 1995 about a following, because people still go off of what following today. Like based off of how many followers you got, that's how much more, blue check, or everybody's following you. But just because you have a large following does not mean it's A-okay and you're practicing it and doing it the right way. But just be very aware. So you have to use wisdom with the information you receive in order to make a great decision. Does my model's life have a following? Just talked about that. What is the main strength that influences others to follow my model? What is the main strength? What does the model have to offer me? What is his best? Also note that strong leaders have weaknesses as well. So every single person, including ourselves, period, have weaknesses as well as strengths. So you want to make sure that you're not modeling a person's weakness also. So that's why you also have to be, it talks about do not idolize. It's going to be a little bit later, or maybe we've already passed it, but you want to just respect your leader and everything, but also keep ideas open that, hey, this person might have some weaknesses, and that is what you do not want to duplicate. Okay, you want to pull the strengths, but you also don't want to be judgmental. And I love the way this book really kind of like goes into all of that. Any feedback from page 63? I see some notes in the comments, but I want to address the stage first. Any feedback on page 63 before we carry on?
I like the point you just made about when you have a leader, knowing that, number one, whenever you begin to attach yourself to a leader, always know that they're human, just like you.
Yes.
Now, first and foremost, so you're not following their perfection. That's not what you're following. You're following their purpose. You following their vision. You following their goals. That's what you're following. And as the leader, it's always good to know that I'm letting you know, hey, I ain't perfect, but I got a tremendous vision that I want to partner with you on. So it's like that's a powerful dialogue that a leader can have with follower can have with their leader, that I know you're not perfect, but together we can do some powerful things. So I think that's a great way to nurture a relationship between the two.
Yes, absolutely. Great feedback. I love that point. We also have in the comments, let me get back to it. Okay. All right. So James King says 1995 was how many email subscribers? Ain't no tell it. A lot. Wow. Chanela Chrysler. Quantity doesn't always equal quality. Very well said. And Dr. Jameson, absolutely, Coach Carlotta Taylor. Appreciate the feedback. Thank you so much. All right. Y'all ready to move on? We're going to keep going. Yeah. Let's go to page 64. Does my model produce other leaders? Leaders. Does my model produce other leaders? Catch the word there. A lot of times people feel like, if I am in connection with this person, and this person is my leader, then everything I do, I must do it exactly like them. But that's not what leadership is about. Leadership is about the vision, about you bringing out your best qualities and traits and you growing to your potential. And if you're only just being a talk like, walk like, dress like, all of that, you're not actually tapping into your strengths. You can duplicate a lot of things, but also leave room for that spark that you own, that you have as an individual person. Because that can take you so many other places, you just never know. So you want to, develop new leaders, people that's going to carry on the vision, but also grow as individuals. Is my model's strength reproducible in my life? And I love the way they use the idea of Shaquille O'Neal. Like, you got to make it make sense. Keep things in perspective. So let me just use a real quick example that comes to the top of my head. Like, if you're a life coach and you're like, man, I need to find that coach. Who is my mentor? I don't need to be looking at Shaquille O'Neal as my mentor. He is a basketball person, and now I think he's gotten off into law enforcement, but still, I need to make it make sense. I can be inspired by somebody who's not in my field, but I need to be looking at who's doing what I'm doing and doing it the way I want to do it and doing it well. Whatever they're seeing in their life, if I want to do that in my life, that's what I need to be looking at. And then make sure it lines up with core values and beliefs and things like that. If my model strength is reproducible in my life, what steps must I take to develop and demonstrate that strength? It's giving you the blueprint on how to break everything down. That's one thing I really love about John Maxwell books. Is like there's a lot of more value than what you read if you really take and apply what the text is saying. You must develop a plan of action. Okay, you cannot only ask questions and never implement a plan. So if you don't plan, what are you doing? If you don't write down your goals, then how will you be able to see them come true? Okay. It talks about the models we choose may or may not be accessible to us in personal ways. So you want to make sure that it's somebody that you can really personally mentor you. Who can personally do this? So a personal mentor, someone. I want to say hello to Johnny Eagle tuning in from YouTube from Africa. Thank you for tuning in with us, Johnny Eagle. We appreciate you being here. Please, 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 as you listen and as you tap in, if you have any questions, concerns, be sure to add them to the comments, and we will be happy to read them and answer them as well. Okay. All right. So this is great information. It gets better and better as we go along. I'm going to go ahead and go over to page 65, and then I'm going to open the floor for any feedback on page 64 and 65. Ask the right questions. Like it's been said before, you can tell how intelligent or how a person thinks by the questions that they ask. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, but when a person asks the right question, that lets you know that they're really diving deep to get the knowledge so they can really apply what they're learning based off the questions that they are asking. Clarify your level of expectations. We want to improve. It's not about perfection. Okay. The goal is to improve. So perhaps only a few people can be truly excellent. Now you're gonna have some people that walk away from your mentorship or your leadership and they like go through the roof. It's like they're on another planet with being so excellent and duplicating or even taking it to another level, while some people may just improve a little bit, but even a little bit of improvement, that is great as long as the person improves and becomes better. Okay. Accept a subordinate learning position. It's all about learning. Okay, it's saying don't try to impress your mentor. Don't try to be like a know-it-all. I know everything. No, be the student. It's okay. Even as a coach, in my field, I would tap in to there are other coaches all around, and I'll tap in just to get a feel for different ways and different information, especially when it comes to free knowledge. So the first thing I'll say is I'm a forever student. I will learn from anybody. Okay, that's something that I always keep with you. Respect the mentor, but don't idolize them. We talked about that just a minute ago. Immediately put into effect what you are learning. Immediately, don't wait. Immediately apply. So you want to learn it, practice it, and assimilate. Do it. Okay. Be disciplined in relating to the mentor and reward your mentor with your own progress. So the best thing you could ever do for your mentor or your leader or your boss, whatever words you want to use, the best thing you could ever do is to go out and be successful. That's the best reward. The best reward. So the floor is open now for pages 64 and 65.
This was one of the things that I posted in the group in terms of guidelines for a mentoring relationship, and it is. I love the way John Maxwell sequences his thoughts and the delivery of his message, because right before this section that we're talking about, he said that you don't want to just have an intellectual exercise, meaning don't just get the information and not do anything with it. Well, most people really aren't taught how to have a plan of action. If you look at the way most educational institutions are set up, it's all about, can you acquire the information long enough to, regurgitate it on an exam or in a paper or something like that? And, can you model it? How are you applying it? So most people aren't truly taught how to have a plan of action. And so he goes on to say, okay, here are your guidelines now for establishing a mentoring relationship. So that was powerful. One, that he's giving you the instructions on how to do it. And then to open it up and say, one, you need to ask the right questions. So that's really going to start off with the person saying, do I really know what I want? Do I know what I'm looking for? And it's not going to be a lot of surface answers. It's going to be things that you see in that person that they are achieving that you don't understand or know at this point. Some stuff you don't even know to ask. And you go to that person saying, listen, I recognize that there are some things that I'm not aware of. And can you assist in that? Right? As a first, recognize that you're a leader yourself. And there are many things that you can do. You can go out there and have the wherewithal yourself to do your due diligence, go get the information. But when you come to a place of mentorship, this is a place where you're truly humbling yourself and saying, listen, it's a lot of stuff that I don't know. I need your wisdom and expertise, right? So the questions in this regard are going to be different. It's because you've done the work and you have not found the understanding that you're now going to this person saying, listen, these are the things that I feel I'm missing or that I don't know about. And then going and clarifying your expectations. Years ago, we heard someone say, I want to manage your expectations. I said, wow, how big is that? Because so often we do have mismanaged expectations, and it talks about a lot of time where people will rise to meet your level of expectation, right? So as a couple, if I don't know what the expectations are, I could be doing things and not meeting the expectations, and there could be a rift, right? With our son, if he doesn't know the expectations that we have of him, then how is it that he can meet those expectations and perform at his best if they are not communicated, right? With the people that you work. So it works in every regard. So making sure that you clarify the level of expectations so that you aren't working in vain and doing things and not getting the results that you need. And I love how, and I think James just mentioned this earlier, it says the goal of mentoring is for improvement, not perfection. It's not perfection. That's so crazy. But we honestly, we really do deal with that. People want to be perfect. And a lot of times they won't move because they feel that they can't be perfect in doing. So there's so much that can be pulled from this. And some of our favorites were clarifying your level of expectation. Because honestly, he said, if you can't address the first two, then you need to just stop. And the other is be disciplined in relating to the mentor. It says arrange for ample and consistent time and select the subject matter in advance. Do your homework and make the session profitable. Because if you truly honor the mentor, you're going to value their time. And not only that, you're going to take the time that you spend with them and go and do. And that's how you show honor to their time. And just for those that are listening, we looked at this and we had a conversation about it. And we said it's not just a person to person, right?
Go over that.
Yeah, it's not just a person to person. There could be someone that, just like John Maxwell, we have set aside time to look at this information. Right now, we're under his mentorship because we have his thoughts, right? And his understandings. And we've designated a time to where we're dedicating to learning from his mentorship and we're going and applying. So it doesn't always have to be that personal connection, but you can truly be under someone's mentorship if you're taking time to really digest the information that they've given and then going and applying.
Yes, ma'am. I also want to add to because it's not perfect. A lot of times people actually quit because they feel like, you know what, I won't ever be able to do it the way I want to. And I want it to be this way. And I'll have to put too much time and energy in it for it to be this way. So I might as well not even. So that's also, being a perfectionist or having it to where, you're in fear that it cannot be the way you feel like it should be. So you just don't even start or you quit. That was really, really great points and really great takeaways, Natasha. Anyone else before we keep going?
I was going to throw in a nugget. The gentleman who we say we listened to since 2015, he gave us a nugget that really blew our minds some years ago. He said, mentorship is earned. It says you have to earn mentorship because time is valuable.
Very.
So everybody say, will you mentor me? Will you mentor me? Well, sometimes no. Not saying they come to us, but he said people who he asked to mentor him, they told him no because they didn't have the time, but they gave him their books. He got their audios. He masterminds like this. He said he read the books, he took the audios, and like you said earlier, he immediately implemented the information. Then until he got to the point where he had evidence that what he was doing was working, that he was following the information, and over time, that very person became his in-person mentor. They were always his personal mentor, but because he took the information, used it, and got the evidence from it, they are now his in-person mentors. And that was a tremendous gift to hear that.
I like
But
that.
mentorship is earned; it's not given.
We moving on. All right. All right. So page 66 and 67. I'm just looking at time. Let me see how much more. Because this is a little lengthy chapter, but not too bad. We're good. We're good with time. Okay. Don't threaten to give up. Do not threaten to give up. Oh man, I might as well throw in the towel. And that does not sound good to your mentor. Your mentor is putting in time. Time is something that person can't get back. I tell my coaching clients, I make sure they understand that they couldn't pay me enough for my one-on-one coaching, that I'm going to give you everything you need my whole life in these sessions to help you get way far ahead as long as you apply. So guess what? The number one thing you do not want to do is waste your mentor's time. And by threatening to give up, throwing the towel, you're just pretty much saying, you know what? It's just like it's not valuable to you. So you don't want to be that person. Don't threaten to give up. Build trust. All right. It talks about breaking promises, gossiping, withholding information, and being two-faced. Did John Maxwell just say something about being two-faced? Did he even know this word? Like, what do he know about two-faced? I was like, what? Okay. But this is true. You cannot make a promise and be someone of influence and then break a promise. You cannot be someone of influence and a mentor and gossip. You cannot be someone of influence and mentorship withholding information from the people you're supposed to be trying to help. How are you trying to help them, but you got the answers, you got the key, you got the blueprint, but you don't even want to share it. That is not, don't do that, because once people can see through that and read through that and feel through that, then it's going to be downhill. That ship going to sink. The foundation a little shaky. And you do not want to be two-faced. Wow, that went hard. So these actions can actually destroy the environment. And once it destroys the environment, Cheryl Bell, I think that's how you say that, said one of the realities of life is that if you can't trust a person at all points, it's heavy. You can't truly trust him or her at any point. I really feel the same way. And it also says once a person breaks that trust, they must work twice as hard to regain it. And I want to do what John Maxwell does. He says, you know what? You know what? He says he'll always take the phrase and then he'll add to it. And I want to add to that one. I don't think you have to work twice as hard to rebuild that trust. I think it's way worse than working twice as hard. I think you got to about work 5 times as hard, because there's a gray line there that you can possibly never even gain it back. Once that comes out, that you are being two-faced, to break your promises, gossiping, withholding information, and your organization, people looking up to you, it's kind of hard to get that back. And sometimes you got to work way harder than twice as hard, to me, in my opinion. But you can get it back. There is hope, but you got to change. And it's character. You cannot have character flaws in leadership. Now, everybody has flaws, but character flaws cannot be one of them. I'm going to read the comments real quick. Want to make sure I get James King's comment in. Great leadership is measured by how many leaders are leading because of your leadership. That's powerful. Yes. Dr. Jameson says deep and sobering chapter. Very much so. Very much so. It gets better as we're going to go along. Paul Frank says facts, Carlotta. That's it. Thank you so much for the feedback. Very valuable. Page 67. Trust is built on many things. Time, respect, unconditional, positive regard, sensitivity, and touch. You want to have all of those things. Take time to listen and give feedback on performances. Give the potential leader respect, and he will return it with trust. Show acceptance of the person. anticipate the feelings and needs of the potential leader and give encouragement, a handshake, a high five, or a pat on the back, or in the case of COVID-19, an air pump, like, an air high five or something like that. Okay. But it's just showing you how to tap into those different elements and not just be one way. This is a great model to go by, and it taps into showing transparency right under that. But building trust is very, very essential. Building belief in the person. My idea is, as long as I can believe in you and I have no other reason not to believe in you, like, you're not telling me I can't believe in you when I'm wanting to by doing these things it says do not do on page 66. So we want to make sure that we're looking at ourselves and making sure that we are applying this. These are some really great nuggets to pick up. All right. I'm looking in the comments. Dr. Jameson says trust is earned and not given. That's right. It's a period. Sometimes it takes a while. It takes a while for different people. Sometimes trust or belief cannot be gained in a month, 2 months, 3 months. It depends on that person. Once they feel like a certain time has passed before, you know what? I really believe that I can trust you. I believe in you, and I know I've experienced you. I walked with you for so long. Got it. Some people are instant. Oh my God, I got a good vibe. I trust you. It's all from there. Everybody's different, but you want to make sure you display the right character in order for your people to receive, because as we're going to learn, as we go deeper in the chapter, it's a certain percentage of people you're going to actually spend your time with versus trying to mentor every single person. Oh, I learned from that one. And that was a really great takeaway. Floor is open. Anyone wants to add to those comments? Corinthia James in the comments says, excellent nuggets. Thank you for your feedback.
I think we probably all agree that leadership is trust, but it goes two ways. I mean, looking at some of the mentors I've looked upon in the past, sometimes if they don't really know you, and it's a more of a cookie cutter approach mentorship to let other people, they don't get to know you, so one size does not fit all.
Yes.
And that's where the problem lies. They don't really want to know you. Dependent. Again, people can say one thing but mean something totally different. But as I said, trust is the biggest thing, and once that trust is broken, as you said, it can be made back. But I see a lot of people who try to become mentors or are potentially mentors I've seen around. They don't accept their mistakes. They feel they have to be perfect because they're in a position of mentorship, and they're not open enough to show their faults, which is a fault. Yeah. So I think that could be better, or that's how I look at it. Like, hey, if I can be transparent. Sometimes I'm probably a little bit too transparent in my life, but I'm learning on that one. I get told later on, no, you don't need to tell people that. But yeah, but it's just a balance of growing, is how much do they need to know, TMI sometimes, but hey, I'm growing, so I'm just here to improve. So yeah.
Yeah, that was very, very valuable and very profound. You really want to do the real work. There is no cookie cutter process when it comes to being a mentor and having a power of influence over people. And when you're, mentoring these leaders, you cannot have a approach where everybody is the same. Everybody is totally different. And that's when you are really doing the real work. If you're trying to do it in a cookie cutter approach, you're gonna leave a lot of people out, and it's just not gonna be good. But really doing the real work. This is not a checklist as far as, okay, got it, and everything's supposed to fall in place. You really have to be sincere. You really have to be that person, not just to say, I'm doing this or I'm doing that. But when you really tap in and get to learn the person, you understand that everybody has different qualities and traits. And that's a whole nother topic, which is really off key right here. But everybody is different. And you really have to value a person for who they are and what their strengths are as well. Kings?
Yeah, we're good.
Okay. All right. Let's keep it moving for page 68 and 69. They admitted their mistakes and accepted the consequences rather than trying to blame others. That's exactly what Michael Humphreys was just saying. People don't want to reap the consequences of their actions. You see this attitude everywhere. I think Natasha was talking about that as well. So it's real easy to fall into that because you don't want to make yourself look bad, per se. You make a mistake. Sometimes it's hard for you to own up to it because you feel like, okay, what's the consequences of me owning up to my mistake? Oh my gosh, they're gonna think I can't, I'm not this or I'm not that. But in all actuality, what you're really doing is letting people know that you are real, you are human, and that you accept your mistakes. Being able to say, I made that mistake, I did this was not right, I shouldn't have done it this way. I'm sorry that I dropped the ball on this, but guess what? I'm about to pick it back up. Let's get the ball rolling. And you can use that as a learning exercise. You really can. And then be that example of how to overcome XYZ, which is going to be more profound and it really shows that you are really, practicing what you preach as well as a leader, right? Oftentimes, people cannot be nurtured from a distance or by infrequent short spurts of attention. And that right there was very eye-opening to me because this is all a learning process and we should all be learning and applying and looking for what areas that we may be weak in to apply so we can get stronger in our weaker areas and then kind of say, okay, and even if you're strong in some areas, you can even get stronger. So don't just feel like I'm strong in this area. I have a natural ability and talent in this area, so I'm good there. No, how can you improve in your strengths? And how can you improve in your weaknesses as well, right? And then it talks about at the end of page 68, it is a leader's most valuable commodity. What? Time. Then on page 69, it's going to go into talking about, I believe that's here. No, the man who lives for himself is a failure, but the man who lives for others has achieved true success. But also, it talks about believing people. People always grow toward a leader's expectations, not his criticisms and examinations. I've been on the flip side where you really look at, criticizing a person for what they have not done. It can be very prickly and it can hurt, especially when you do it from a sarcastic point of view. Even if you're highlighting someone in a certain area that they've done something correctly, but if you are bashing other people for not doing it that way, inadvertently, you can, I think it says it somewhere in the text of how you can make somebody feel good, but you can be making other leaders really feel bad and you're turning them off just by the way you're doing a certain thing. So we have to make sure that we watch how we even show and highlight the people in our organizations, how we give back feedback or criticism or examinations. I've heard this, I can't remember where I first heard it, but I've heard this several times before. Always use the sandwich approach anytime you want to give someone positive reinforcement, right? So what do I mean by that? The sandwich approach. Start off with a compliment. I see that you do this really, really well, and I'm so proud of you, XYZ, da 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 da. But I did notice XYZ and da 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 in this area, that whatever you want to say, whatever it is, and then follow up with a compliment. So now you pretty much cover the bases. You brought them in on a high note. They're excited. They feel like, oh my God, you're paying attention to me. You let them know that this is a problem area right here. And in the best way possible, you explain where the improvement needs to be or whatever is going on, whatever it is you want to say. And then you finalize it with another high note. So they're not walking away from that experience with you on a down note. They walk away inspired. They walk away feeling like there's somebody and like there's somebody important. It's so many other things, and I could say this so long, but that is very, very key how you do what you do. In other words, how you do anything is how you do everything, right? And expectations promote progress. So when you tell a person what you expect of them and how and pour into them and add value to them, they walk away feeling inspired. They feel like they can do anything. And in a lot of cases, I also learned even in organizations where everybody doesn't have what they need to succeed, with that motivation, as Natasha was saying earlier, with that motivation, they keep going, all because of hope and inspiration and being encouraged the right way. Let me go to the comments. Dr. Jameson says, for every negative, give 2 positives. Well, then, I like it. Come on, summon on up. Michael Humphrey says, leadership is a journey, not a destination. Profound. Great value added right there, Michael Humphreys. Jameson says, Dr. Virginia. Okay, Jameson says, Dr. Virginia. No, Dr. Jameson says, admitting you made a mistake is truly great leadership, or you make people think you have to be perfect. Oh, that's a nugget. Because if you make people feel like they have to be perfect, then guess what? That's a wall. That's fear. I can't do it. Nah, not for me. I'll never achieve. Leadership is not cookie cutting. That's right, Doc. Paul Frank says, reflecting back on what Carlotta's point in the beginning and Michael's about stage talk, word work versus life talk, life work. So when deciding a leader to follow based on based on how many followers they have. Why? Simply because most people are not who they post to be on social media. That's very, very true. I had to work through that one. Thank you, Paul Face, for your feedback. Let's see here. So Corinthian James says, yes. We always want to start off with the good and add the negative. Can it be fixed? A solution. Make it a we. How can we fix this? Good point. All right. I want to open the floor. Any feedback right now before we move on to page 70?
I think that just looking at everything from page 68 to 69, from the leader not being able to, what happens when the leader doesn't admit their mistakes? What happens when the leader always looks towards criticism and examination? What that ends up doing is it strips your potential leaders of confidence. I've been in places in the past where the leader is not able to admit when they're wrong, and because they have a certain insecurity, to hide that insecurity, they immediately place blame on other people.
Yes.
Or always looking at the criticism. And we talk about this often. I share with parents about this too. I said, are we really in a space of creating or correcting? And if you can just think about when you see your child, let's just say they're getting ready to go to school in the morning, and you look over them, are you looking to see if they iron their clothes? Are you looking to see if they, if they have their belt on, if they have their shoes, did they groom themselves properly? And that could be looked at a place of correcting. So we have to be careful. We could have completely overlooked that they got up early and made their bed without me saying anything. Or they're, or they could have, they could be mentally pumping themselves up for the day, and you immediately come in, why didn't you iron those pants? And that's what you're wearing today. And immediately that kills confidence, because that criticism is coming where you may be trying to, I guess, institute accountability or, have set a standard or whatever. And that's breeding grounds. Again, you're in that field of perfectionism, right? And you're killing confidence. So we have to be really, really careful about that. And lead with the compliment always. You said, and honestly, and we're learning, we only have a 7-year-old, so we are not, we don't profess to be, these superstar parents or anything, but We have been learning because we asked God, let us be students. But we have learned that we teach him so much more by simply modeling as opposed to just talking. He catches so much more than we teach.
So watch.
Yes. And so those things are so important. But I just wanted to point that out from pages 68 to 69. The flip side of not following these parameters that John Maxwell gives is that you can actually kill confidence in your leaders and potential leaders.
Wow. That was very profound, Natasha. Very, very key. I love that. Even if you have something that you want your child to correct, I love that. Lead with a compliment. That will change the perspective on a lot of things. Like you said, you never know what that child is going through in their mind and what they're telling themselves. And always look for what can you compliment versus what do you want to criticize. It's very, very good. Even though you all are not per se, been in the game for a long, long time, because I have a 19-year-old and I know some people that are in the group have older children. Michael Hunter says,
That's right. That's right.
harmony right now, okay? But the thing is, you all are excellent parents. I've been around y'all with your little man, and I can just tell the fact that he has a free spirit. Y'all don't do him the way that the world say this is how you're supposed to parent, and I love it. And he's gonna be he's already not going to be. I'll stop saying that about him. He is a remarkable life changer in more, not just a business way. I'm talking about just period.
Yeah.
So great work with that. Great work, and that's a great way to be an example. And that was a great point too, as well. Anybody else want to give feedback real quick?
I like how it talks about, being transparent and letting people know when you made a mistake and just didn't get it right, things of that nature. Another way you can do that, so you won't seem like just because you're the leader of a particular organization, one way you can always let people know that you're not perfect. I said perfect. See, there you go. I'm not perfect. Yeah, but looking at the fact that, look, when you're nurturing different people in your group and you're studying people, you look at the strengths of people and to pull that out, you might get somebody to teach in the area where they're excellent at it. You're not. You can let people know up front, hey, I'm not good in this area, but my team member is, or my business partner is, and just using certain words, especially in, the industry that we're in. We don't like to say down on this, but my business partner, they're great in this area. So they're going to teach today in this area. And we got our notepads out as well. And we're taking notes as well. So building up that confidence, let people know, hey, I don't know everything. I don't profess to know everything, but I'm always a student. We can learn from everybody. So doing that from time to time, I think is a great way to show people I'm not perfect. I don't know it all, and I'm willing to learn from anybody who has more knowledge than me. And I learned that from Henry Ford back in the day. He was in court around. It was back in the day when a lot of stuff was going on. He was in court battling something that was asking him all sorts of questions, and he was like, "Why do I need to know that when I can just hire somebody who already knows it to be on my team? I don't have time to learn all this stuff." And it's the same thing in this day and time. You don't have to know it all, but at least have be the type of leader to know that you can have people on your team that does know that, and let them lead in that area versus you. That's quality. That's quality leadership as well. And one key thing to leadership we've learned just from our pastor and just from a lot of different people, if you have to keep saying you're the leader, you're not really the leader. I just threw that in there. It ain't got nothing to do with this chapter. But if you got to keep saying you're the leader, you're not really the leader.
Great stuff. Great stuff. Yes, I love it. You good, Hump? You
Yeah, I had myself. I said it was just a title. You know, a lot of people. You know, I think you said it earlier, Carlotta. You know, it's not easy. It's work, and everybody wants to be a leader until it times to become what leaders really have to do. So, you know, everybody on here obviously wants to be better, but it's friggin' work. You know, it's not easy. We do make mistakes. And we have to, it's okay. I encourage people to make mistakes. You know, how do you learn? How do babies learn? As you said, I have a 25-year-old and a 21-year-old Friday. So,
Hey.
we make mistakes along the way, and admit your mistakes. Be leadership of children or leadership of a team. So it's okay, but because that's how we grow as well, admitting our own faults. So.
Yes. Wow. Great feedback. Once again, we're going to go ahead and dive into page 70 and 71. We have a few more. Yeah, we have a few more, so I'm going to try to squeeze everything in. But I just love the short stories within the chapter. They do it for me. The example stories. And we're coming up on one on page 70, real short, but very profound to me. So at the top of page 70, first paragraph, it talks about encouragement helps them reach their potential. It empowers them by giving them energy to continue when they make mistakes. Encouragement. It empowers people. It's the emotion behind it. It's the way a person feels. Because at the end of the day, it's the feelings. How you feel really drives you. And once you realize that when things happen, and this is what I've been applying daily and more recently, is that something happens. It makes me feel a certain way. Natasha said it a while ago about how it's like 90 seconds you have. And after the 90 seconds, it's kind of like you determine how you want to feel about a certain thing. She pulled that from somewhere. I can't call it right now. But what I've been doing is I've been deliberately getting myself out of allowing the emotion to take control of me throughout my day. To say, you know what, I'm not going to own that emotion. This person did something negative or said something crazy to me. And I'm talking about I had this happen just yesterday, seriously. And I had nothing to do with it. They literally was having a bad day. And I literally, as a client of theirs in a certain area, I'm one of their paying clients in a certain area, and they just kind of lashed out. And I said, I disconnect. I immediately canceled my appointment, and I said, you know what? I'm not even upset. I'm not going to own that because, you know, it's a two-way street. And you can do things, but then that right there can mess up your whole entire day. And you can throw that back off on people. You get what I'm saying? You choose how you want to feel. Now, how did that situation play out? That person called back. They apologized. And then I could respect the fact that they apologized. And so therefore, I allowed myself to reschedule the appointment because I said, I refuse to accept that energy, and I'm not going to hold it all day and dish it out to other people. And then when it comes to work environments and leadership, we have to see we do not want to allow that energy to really like control us because the feelings is very, very key. What I love most about this little, it's very, very short. I'm going to read the whole paragraph because I really like it. UCLA basketball coach John Wooden told players who scored to give a smile, wink, or nod to the player who gave them a good pass. What if he's not looking? Asked the team member. Wooden replied, I guarantee he'll look. Everyone values encouragement and looks for it, especially when his leader is a consistent encourager. That right there, it just really made my heart feel some kind of way. I love little stories like that because it's very impactful. I guarantee he's going to be looking. And I bet you every time that happened, that person noticed it. And it only makes people feel better and it builds morale with the team. It's the little things. that can make the world of it a difference. Okay. And on page 71, that whole read right here, whoo, exhibit consistency. Is this the one about the hen? No. This is about the farmer. Okay, that was just hilarious. Okay, hilarious. Okay, you got to read this now. Y'all plugging in, y'all in here, and I know people have work schedules and times when they have to be in and out, catch the replay, not the real play, whatever it is. Make sure you read the text because this right here was funny. This was real funny, real funny. I loved it. I literally laughed out loud for real. Okay, hold hope high. It takes a great leader to give hope to people when they can't find it within themselves. Hold hope high. Hope is very, very powerful. Okay? I want to open the floor for feedback. But first, let me read these comments and see what's going on in here. James King says, we are all becoming. Always. Great. Paul Frank says, we are human beings when we settle for our current level, but human becomers when we dedicate our lives to growth and development. Great takeaway. We should be good humans. Thank you, Doc. Great feedback, Natasha King. I've been there and done that. Love that story of Henry Ford, says Paul Franks. All right. Thank you. The floor is open now, 70 and 71.
Carlotta, that was Caroline Leaf that you were talking about, the 90 seconds. Most times we experience a traumatic experience or whatever, and the brain only registered for like 90 seconds. But after that, your mind chooses. And that made me think about when you choose. I love that you pointed that out and the way you explained it, because you choose to be offended. You choose to be offended, and we have to be careful when we choose to be offended, because when you begin to harbor offense, that becomes unforgiveness. And when you hold unforgiveness, that stops your blessings and your growth.
Yes.
And if we're looking at leadership and things like that, then it just creates a snowball effect. So I just want to say thank you for just giving the real life example to what that is. But I just definitely want to share that you choose to be offended, whatever the case is. And if somebody has to tell you to be offended, you are not thinking for yourself.
Go.
I'm offended. Oh.
Woo. Let me act accordingly. Woo. That was good.
But just be mindful. Be mindful of what you choose to be offended to, because then that's breeding grounds for unforgiveness, and that is one of the most terrible things that you can do in terms of blocking your growth and your blessings. So that was it. That was my only point. I wanted to put that plug in there.
And don't be the farmer.
Don't be the farmer.
You got me.
You know what? I'm agreeing. I'm going to keep working with you, though.
Yeah, keep working with you.
Keep working with you. Hey, y'all going to catch that. If you have not read chapter 4, you got to read it so you can understand. When the farmer says, I'm going to keep working with you, so you can understand what that really means. So we're not going to tell you this one. You got to go get that one for yourself, okay? Any more feedback before we move on? All right. Let me make sure I find the page. Okay, I found it. Page 72. All right, I have underlined. I'm gonna probably go through 4 pages right now because we're getting ready. We're closing in on the last final 20 minutes. So there are no hopeless situations. There are only men who have grown hopeless about them. Key takeaway. Morgan tells the story of a man whose shop burned down to the ground. Love this. I love the little short stories within the text. Talks about this man's shop burnt down in the Great Chicago fire, right? And guess what happened? He arrived at the ruins the very next morning carrying a table and a sign that read something like this: everything lost except wife, children, and hope. Business will resume as usual tomorrow. How inspirational, how profound is that? I bet you his business got right back to business. I bet you his business got right back to business because people were inspired just by that. I bet you it just went on to be a great, great, great organization because that, his perspective. Same situation, different perspective, different outcome. You can put somebody in the same situation based off of their perspective of the situation. It's going to be a different outcome. That's why you can have people that go through some crazy stuff, but their outcome is totally different. Why? Perspective. Okay. So choose to see things how you want to see them, or take away. It might be a negative situation, but take away. How can you apply this to have a positive outcome? Page 73. I have underlined because I go through my book and I underline and highlight and just be, you can tell this book was read, right? Too many people simply fall into a comfortable niche in life and stay there rather than pursue goals of significance. You want to be significant, not just good, not just average, but significant. Okay. I have underlined to love what you do and feel that it matters. How could anything be more fun when you love what you do and you feel that it matters? When you feel that you don't love what you do and it doesn't matter to you, you're going to do like a lot of people do when they be at the drive-thrus. And you go through a drive-thru and they be like, here. Paul and I went to Walmart. We went to Waffle House the other day. I kid you not. True story. It fits. Paul baby girl, she was working that day. Paul got there earlier before me, so some stuff went down. Before I got there, he was like, I think it's me, whatever. I get there. She slams my mug down on the table, and I looked. I said, "You all right?" She didn't respond. She walks away. She comes back, takes my order, puts my plate down right before me. No communication. I'm like, okay, just the vibes were off. And then, sweetheart, Pope, bless her heart, she literally came and took Paul's plate, reached over, elbow, like literally, this is my plate and this is her hand. Over my plate intentionally because she looked and thought, it's like, oh my God, it's like she's having a bad day, but sweetheart, I decided that we were not going to own that. But you can definitely tell she felt like what she did not matter, and you can tell she definitely did not love what she did. Period. And I'm pretty sure they probably had a lot of walkouts that day. I just got up and walked out. Left all the food there. We just got up and left. But at the end of the day, she's suffering in a situation. You get what I'm saying? And it can go way, that right there, and especially in the wrong city, in the wrong neighborhood, that can go left really quick. That can turn into a fight. That can turn into some shootouts. When I was in law enforcement, there was several shootouts in Waffle House. I'm like, what is going on? But Waffle House, to me, they got some good breakfast. They just got to change some things. But anyway, that's another topic. But at the end of the day, you want to love what you do. You want to love what you do. Believe that it matters. Okay? But at the end of the day, you choose how you want to feel. Don't let a situation like something like that mess up your entire day. Choose how you want to feel. I have a theory, and this might not even apply, but I have a theory that I've created myself, and I feel like a person's personal mentality, their character, you can learn how a person is by the way they drive. By the way they drive. If they drive and somebody does something to them and they ready to cuss a person out, get out the car, they're emotionally led. I used to be that person years ago. And now somebody do something, I be like, man, they driving crazy. I hope they make it to where they going. That's another topic. I know we'll come back around to that because it go deeper than that. On page 73, the pursuit of significance. Love what you do. This right here, very profound. Oh my gosh. If I had blank, I would blank. That, I've never seen that quite like that before. But that really helps you really get to what it is that you really truly want. Because there it is right there. If you had everything you wanted, what would you do? Then it lets you know, if you don't know what you would do with that thing, it lets you know you're not even ready for it. So a lot of times you be wondering why I'm not blessed with this, then at the end of the day, if you don't know how you would apply it or what you would do with it, that means you're not ready for it. So that means you got to grow into the person that you need to be able to receive that, so you won't wreck yourself, right? What would you do? Your answer to that question is your dream. I love that. I'm going to go through a few more pages here so we can get some feedback really, really quick. Page 74. Be significant. Identify and pursue your dream. Make it personal, attainable, measurable, visible, and expandable. All right. The leader of her department had never explained to her the significance of her job. She's frontline, working in administration. She felt like her job didn't matter because she felt like all the big bosses back here. I'm the low person on the totem pole. But at the end of the day, you're the first person that everybody sees. You're the first person that people come in contact with. If you turn them off, they're going to walk out. If you turn them off, they're not even going to enroll to the school. Right? That's at the bottom of page 74. Provide security, page 75. I have underlined, people who focus on their fears don't grow. They become paralyzed. Now you wonder, does time ever freeze? Does time ever stand still? And I say yes. When you're not growing and you're in the same spot and you're not making any improvement, you're not learning from your experiences, you are simply frozen in time. And everything around you can keep on moving, but you can be stuck. So in order to get unstuck, people who focus on their fear, don't focus on your fears because you're not going to grow. Great leaders make their followers feel bigger than they are. Feel bigger than they are. And that right there is really, really amazing. Right there, great takeaway. I had to underline that. One of the greatest discoveries a man makes one of his great surprises is to find he can do what he was afraid he couldn't do. Once you discover that within yourself, you pretty much build a confidence in yourself. And you feel like you can do it, and that changes the narrative of everything. I have underlined page 75, Thomas J. Watson Sr., the founder of IBM, was famous for carrying a checkbook as he walked through his office plants. He wrote checks, small checks, right? It's the little things, $5, $10, $15, or $25. And this is what I love. He said most of the people that received the checks, they didn't even cash it. They framed it. Ooh, ain't that is good. I know that makes people feel very special. They framed that moment, something they could always remember. The CEO of IBM wrote out this personalized check to me, and they framed it, and they pretty much used it as motivation. Page 76, they framed them all and put them on their wall. Oh my goodness, this was my favorite one. I felt some kind of way reading this. I'm not gonna read it right now, we don't have time. But when it talks about the upgraded modern story of the hen, what do you say? Yeah. The modern version. Ooh. First of all, I got a little mad with everybody, but then I understood at the end the feedback and how this happens in real life. So you got to read pages 76 and 77 to see how you don't want to do things. Don't be the government entity in this situation that really just allows one person to carry all the weight, do all the work, make all the sacrifices, do all the pouring out. And then at the end, mandate that person has to just give up all the goods and be the leader, be the one that just make it easy for everybody, but don't hold nobody else accountable. It all falls on that person, and then guess what? That turned them off. Lights on, lights off. No in between. So very, very great takeaway. We leaders must be certain that our people don't feel like the little red hen. We must never be like the government agent. I just said that, page 78. Emotional support. Forge ahead when given emotional support. That's what people do. In a yes, you can atmosphere. Yes, you can. Makes people feel very, very important. Invest money in people. It always yields the highest return on your investment. The top 20% of people in the organization will perform 80% of the organization's production. So when structuring your support, provide the top 20% producers with 80% of the total support. And this right here was a big aha moment for me because, and early in leadership, when you're trying to figure it out and you're striving and you're like, you know what, maybe I just need to try to be that mentor to every single person. I need to be this and that. And that's where you can get burned out. You can get stepped over. You can get, because everybody doesn't value that. But when you focus on the top 20%ers who are doing 80% of the work, now you have structured your model in a way that you're going to get back. You're going to reap from what you're putting in. Right? So be wise in the decisions and make sure we apply this. I'm talking to myself and everybody. Page 79. I'm going to go through. We're almost done with the chapter. Going to open the floor for feedback. That way we can dive in and get all of the content in before 1:30. All right. I have underlined on page 79. To cross the line, U.S. players almost never convince one another. This right here. Aha. So you got this line. You draw an imaginary line on the floor. Put a person on one side, a person on the other side. And the goal and the purpose, got it? Understand the bottom line. The bottom line is to get the other person to cross the line. And so then it goes on to say that U.S. players almost never convince one another. They're probably over there like, listen, I'll give you a cheeseburger if you cross the line. I got you. Hey, I'll pay you this. I just need you to cross that line. I don't know what their tactics were, but the mentality of the United States or the country and the way we think and the way we do things is kind of like, different. But it said with Japanese counterparts, this is what they simply say. If you cross the line, so will I. And they both win. Very, very profound. I got a little warm and fuzzy feelings off of that one. All right. At the end, I love this one too, man. This made me holler. Teddy Roosevelt once had a little dog that was always getting into fights and always getting licked, always getting his butt kicked. Poor little dog. I could just imagine hearing the screams right now. It's not working out for him. But somebody said, man, come on, Colonel. He's not much of a fighter. And Teddy replied, oh, he's a good fighter. He's just a poor judge of dogs. So he's choosing all the dogs to go whoop his tail. Choose somebody that you got a little leverage over. That was funny to me. It is important to disciple a life, not teach a lesson. That was very profound. It talked about, I talked about that already. Don't pour into everybody. Just focus on the top 20%. Choose people with potential you genuinely believe in. Don't try to fake it. Because people can feel that. They can feel when it's not genuine and when it's not real. All right. The secret of mentoring in any field is to help a person get where he or she is willing to go. Love that. I'm going to jump down. I got a lot to cover, but I'm just going to skip over some things. I want to open up time for feedback. We're almost done. All right. So, boom. People need feedback. Like I just said, be committed, serious, and available to people you mentor. All of us are born for a reason, but all of us don't discover why, right? Success in life is what you do for others, and that's on period. As Shanetta Crystal was saying, that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. Had to throw that in. I have underlined, it is one of the most beautiful conversations of this life that no man can sincerely try to help another without helping himself. So before we try to pour into others, we really want to get this for ourselves. Apply it. Learn it, apply it, and then, do it. When you nurture the people around you, everyone wins. But we must first start with self. The floor is open for feedback, and we have, whatever is your biggest takeaway from chapter 4. Let's say all of chapter 4 is in play. I'll be checking into the comments to see if anyone in the comments has anything they want to add to chapter 4 as well.
My biggest takeaway is probably towards this last on page 81, going over into 82. And it says, by personalizing each person's journey, you are helping him to maximize his potential. You are giving him a chance to discover his purpose. You also maximize his contribution to you and your organization. But that line where it says you're giving him a chance to discover his purpose. That is such a tremendous responsibility for a leader. To position somebody where they can identify their purpose.
Hmm.
I don't know of a greater joy. That's also a responsibility that allows you to do that. And in this regard, as a leader, you have to earn that power. That's not an authoritative position. I can't remember where we learned that, but authority is given, power is earned. But that is a power that you have to earn to assist somebody to identify their purpose. And I have to say thank you to James, because this was one of the things that I think we discovered our purpose together. And that was such a powerful thing. But I share with people that my career was wrapped in education. I had a huge outlook in terms of what I wanted to do with my life. And I've always been goal oriented and goal driven. And one day I just simply took time to listen to him. And he was talking about what he saw. And I hope everybody picks this up, because it's still leadership, but we're talking about from a home perspective, right? He was talking about what he saw. And as I was listening to him talk about this big picture, which was impacting, inspiring, and initiating purpose in the lives of people, I heard something and I stopped him. I went to get my journal that I had before we had gotten together, and it had my list of short and long-term goals. And what he was describing, I said, do you see that my goals right here are what you just said? And it was at that moment that I said, I realized that my dreams and goals fit inside the vision that he has. And that was a lesson on so many levels, but one, it was a lesson in submission. And it's amazing how this chapter talked about that, and how you can just, and I'll just leave it at that, because I can go so far into this, and I know we're wrapping up today, but that last line, if nobody else gets anything from this chapter, and I think it talked about saying that this is the leader's role, their number one, what was it? The leader's crucial task, a crucial task in terms of nurturing potential leaders, based on you recognizing and seeing what's in that person. You have to pray for discernment like that. And I hope those that are listening are really taking leadership seriously. It's not a title, but to be able to discern what's in a person and provide a space where they can grow in that and identify their purpose. That's joy. But it's also responsibility that has to be earned. And that's my takeaway.
Beautiful takeaway.
Chapter 4, my biggest takeaway is always seeing the bigger picture and leading with the bigger picture, and letting those around you know that they have a part in that bigger picture. And as they begin to unfold, and as you begin to nurture people to their potential, then you'll begin to see how the bigger picture will always begin to develop, because you take out time to think about other people versus making it all about yourself. It's all about just looking at the person, but allowing on them to believe that they can become that person, but at the same time knowing that you're helping them reach something beyond your vision, but ultimately helping them create their own vision as well. So that's what I got when I think about that best analogy that he gave. So that's one of the biggest takeaway at all these chapters. How they open is always the most impactful part for me, because that's what they want. That's what the author wants you to get from that chapter. The rest of the chapter is explaining it, but if you read that first chapter, that first page, it really allows you to see, this is what I want you to get from this chapter. And I just, that analogy of best, believe in them, encourage them, share with them, trust them, is something that we definitely look to live by every single day.
Absolutely.
And what we do. Yeah. So yeah, just grateful.
Yeah.
All right. So you, Michael Humphreys.
I'm muted. Yep, I'm muted. Okay, cool. So looking at 4 real quickly, nurturing the leaders around you is two-way street. I think looking as if you're a mentor, that this is going to be work, and you've got to step over that line and look what it looks like from the other side. It's like it's okay if you swap sides like the Japanese people, but I mean, if you swap sides on the other side, you get to see what the other one's like, but now you're in different positions, and you shouldn't be necessarily in that position. So I disagree with that, what he said. So yeah, so I think you should go across the other side and look what it looks like and get a perspective, and then be willing to come on down to that level and build. What I'm seeing is you've got to be willing to build a relationship, but you've got to listen as a mentor to really what the person wants. It's too easy as a mentor or a leader, and change the word, is to go and just do that. And it's not necessarily what that person wants. Sometimes we want more for them than they want, but they don't really want it. So I think we just got to be careful there. And I think James said that you've got to start with yourself. I mean, this is, for me, a journey to make me better. And then obviously, yes, I've included people. I've got somebody set to the side. And my daughter came in, she's working for me, but she listened for about 5-10 minutes making comments. I was muted. But so it's really about a journey, what I can do so I can become better for me, to become a mentor, if that's what God wants me to be. But allowing people to lead in their own ways. I think that's what we got to really watch. Everybody's different. I am different to you, different sense of humor, different age group, different ethnicity, and different vision. So allow me to lead where I am, but still pour into me. And it's okay for me to be different. So for you to be different as well. So anyway, that's my takeaway.
Man, I love it when a person has a different angle, or maybe doesn't agree with something and they have a different perspective, because it's eye-opening. I didn't even think about it, but that was very eye-opening, and I like it. I welcome it. See, some people can be offended, but you shouldn't be, because everybody's different. Accept that. As long as it's positive and we can respect each other's, insight. Because everybody doesn't think the same way. Guess what? There's somebody out there that agree with the text, and there's some other people that don't agree. So you rather capture the minds of everybody and really value their input. So I really like the different perspective. I like the feedback. Thank you so much. Let's talk about, what are we reading next week? We'd love to see a lot of people once again here. When we were doing these Zoom calls, we had quite a bit of people on, but I just want to welcome you to come on here. Thank you to everybody who was in the comments, adding value and giving feedback consistently throughout the whole time. Thank you. But next week, we're going to wrap this up because it was 3 minutes over. Not too bad though. Chapter 5, the leader's daily requirement and equipping potential leaders. So we're going to learn how to really do that. Hey, Michaela, what's going on?
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. Somebody got a birthday coming up. I heard him say 21. So
Tomorrow.
that gotta be you.
Tomorrow.
Oh my gosh.
Going to New Orleans, being safe.
Yeah, being safe. Okay. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. So with that being said, man, I'm excited about chapter 5. Really excited to learn and apply. And I want to encourage you all to take something from chapter 4 and see if you can either apply it in your life, or if you see it and you see an example of it, be sure to bring it back for the recap for next week, because we always want to do a recap of, we just started this, but we always want to do a recap of the last chapter before we dive off into chapter 5, okay? So thank you all. Have an amazing week and day. Great to see you all plug in. I'm excited about chapter 5. God bless you, okay?
Thanks. Bye.